I'm joined now by the candidates running for the 92nd Legislative District in the Pennsylvania House. The district covers much of northern York County and a small part of Cumberland County. The candidates are running for Representative Mike Regan's seat. He is now running for state senate. And the candidates from left to right are Kate McGraw, who's an artist and an independent candidate from Monroe Township, and Dawn Kiefer, who's a small business owner and the Republican candidate from Franklin Township, York County. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Why run as an independent?
I've been an independent ever since I was 18, quite possibly earlier than that. As a lifelong independent, I think that this is a great race and a good time to jump in, considering the races from the top of the ballot the whole way down. I do believe that we need more of a dialogue in the 92nd District so that the voters in the 92nd District can have more of a representation of their needs and concerns. And I feel like as an independent, I can offer that.
And why are you running, Dawn?
I'm running as a small business owner, a wife, mother, just really frustrated from a couple different aspects. As a small business owner, the over-regulation and taxation on small businesses are absolutely suffocating. There's
Can you give us an example? What's a regulation that's suffocating you?
Okay, and my husband's a small business owner as well. So they just, for me, probably it's more of the forms and the timing that you have to file everything. They'll change some different things as far as compliances, some of it's tax forms that they want filed differently. My husband builds custom motorcycles. So it's things like an air compressor. You have to now have a gauge on it that goes to 350, even though the unit only goes to 250.
All right, well, we're getting very specific now. The House and the Senate are considering pension reform and now considering a bill that would put future employees of the state and school districts on a 401k style plan. They have three options. How would you vote on that? What do you think about that?
I do think that is a good option for the future of our pension system. We don't have many options, and we're not going to see a real change in the short term. Any change that, any benefit that we'll see to the pension system will be seen within the 10 to 20 year span. So I know that we did pass some reforms in 2010. We probably won't see those for another 10 years. So it does make sense to take the defined contribution from the state and move it to a defined benefit to defined contribution like we do in the private sector. The risk is that the benefits will be not as good as they've been for our public employees and for our teachers. So we have to consider whether we're willing to take on the risk of not having the greatest benefit packages in the future that we've had. I think it's a good compromise, though. We are feeling the squeeze, so we have to do something.
And how would you have voted on that if that came up when you were there?
I support the 401k style defined contribution plan that they have right now. We've got to do something right away to stop the bleeding. It's just growing astronomically. So absolutely, I would support that, and I would also support some other ways that they manage those funds as well.
The Turnpike has just said, the Turnpike Commission just as of this week, that it is losing millions of dollars from toll violators. There is a bill in the House, it's been stuck in the House, that would give the Turnpike Commission, along with PennDOT, the ability to pull registrations of people, these perennial toll violators. What do you think about that?
Sure, that makes sense to me. I use the Turnpike at least once a week, and I have an easy pass, so there are ways to get around paying the tolls without having to take the time to stop at the booth. So sure, I do support pulling the registrations of the people who are violating, because that's lost revenue for the state.
Yeah, if you have habitual fine, people that are habitually fined and they're not any way to recoup those costs, absolutely. Driving's a privilege, so I think it would be reasonable to attach those. I don't know what, the devil is in the details. So.
Right, you don't know the bill itself, but that is a bill that has passed in the Senate and it has been stuck in committee
yes.
in the House, from what I understand.
Yes, I'm just not sure what all is on there that, could be the sticking point.
The opioid crisis, the governor has, tasked the legislature with passing some bills. What do you think the responsibility of state lawmakers is in this crisis and in dealing with the opioid crisis?
Well, I've been getting active in York County with the heroin task force that they have. There's a couple different programs. This really has to go at a local level. I know you have many different public and private entities that are working together in a collaboration in York County, along with Adams County, to address some of these. It goes from rehab. Right now, one of the big steps is from rehab, once these people try to re-enter society and the workforce, what are measures that are in place to help them at that point? So they're really looking and focusing in on that. anything that we can do to help those systems work cohesively, helping law enforcement, it's got to be a comprehensive approach. I mean, it's absolutely having a phenomenal impact in our district.
Kate, what's your reaction to that?
I think that we need a cultural shift and a different understanding of what drug abuse and substance abuse entails. I do not think that putting drug addicts in jail isn't the answer. We need to be able to offer rehabilitation services, or at least make these rehabilitation services accessible through our healthcare system. Right now, insurance companies often only offer 28 days in rehab. For a heroin addicted person, that is not enough. Oftentimes 3 months is not enough. Oftentimes 6 months is not enough. And heroin addicts are often in rehab many times. So we really have to keep that into consideration. And we also have to really change the way we think about, like I said in the beginning, we really need to decriminalize drug addiction.
All right, very good. Well, thanks to both of you for joining us, and we wish you the best on Election Day.
Thank you so much.
And remember, Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th, and keep up with the latest election news on WGAL.com. You can find more information on the other races we're following that you'll only find online.